The 2025 fixtures has just been released. Collingwood got absolutely shafted. Let's talk about it. So yesterday we talked about how we got shafted again for our first 8 weeks. 6 finalists in the first 8 weeks of the competition. Obviously we versus Brisbane, Sydney, so 2 grand finalists, a couple of prelim finalists, and it was a pretty hard draw. Even Jerry Whaley had to say this about it.
Find the three teams who most need positive starts are Melbourne, the Bulldogs, and Collingwood. The Magpies' early fixture franks them as the biggest draw card in footy, and it pits them against a succession of 6 finalists. Collingwood will ensure a sellout for the Giants in opening round, host Port Adelaide, drive the Bulldogs to a record home attendance to celebrate 100 years in the competition, hypercharge Thursday night against Carlton, hold down Friday night of gather round against Sydney, and then they'll play the feature Easter Thursday at the Gabba and on to Anzac Day. Collingwood will be miles clear atop the attendance ladder at that stage. But where will they be after those 7 games? If they're near the top of the actual ladder, after that start that they'll have, there's a fair chance that they're our premiership favourites.
And we thought, okay, we might have a hard start to the season, but it might ease up a little bit. We talked about being in that middle bracket and potentially versing 3 opponents in that middle bracket, then hopefully 2 from the bottom and maybe 1 or so from the top because we finished in that 9th position. As it turns out, we copped the 3rd hardest draw according to Fox Footy. Now, we'll go through this line by line or round by round and sort of dissect it that way. Initial thoughts though, like I just said in the opening, shafted. We've been absolutely cooked. You would think that we had finished top 4 or made the grand final because it's a pretty difficult draw, mainly because of the teams that we're doubling up on, right? We don't get the Kangaroos twice. We don't get Richmond twice. We don't get West Coast twice. There are some teams that are around where we're sitting who do get Western Bulldogs. There are some teams around where we're sitting who do get West Coast twice, who do get Richmond twice, who do get the Kangaroos twice. So for us to finish 9th and get cooked by the AFL on this fixturing, and I'm just talking about our opponents. I'm talking about, where we're sort of playing the MCG. I know we've got a good run of MCG games, and we'll talk a little bit about that later when we sort of go through them. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the double ups because that's what everyone sort of looks at. And, why aren't we doubling up on some of the lesser teams and why are we doubling up on the good teams? So we'll go through the games round by round, discuss them, and then I want your thoughts down below. Before we get into this line by line, be sure to subscribe if you're not. We're so close to 10,000. I want to hit that magical target before the end of the year rolls around. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world. Now, let's go through this line by line. We talked about these games yesterday. We'll just quickly mention them as we sort of go down. So we've got the Giants away. So that's opening round. So that's March 9, and then we come back down to the G and play Port Adelaide, Dan Houston's return game. We've got actually, what is that? 3 games? 3 games at the G. So home against Port, the away game against the Western Bulldogs. So that's going to give the Western Bulldogs their highest ever home and away attendance because it's their centenary game. So that's going to be good. Like I like playing the Doggies. I'm so glad we don't have to play them at Marvel. And then we have the bye, so we get an early bye. So round 3, technically 4 weeks in. We get Carlton on a Thursday, which, like we talked about yesterday, is just stupid. This is a blockbuster game. This is a Friday night. This is a Saturday night. This is not a Thursday night game, but they need to put these high draw card games onto Thursday nights. And I think at the moment, we have 3 Thursday nights, a bunch of, I think it's 4 Friday nights. And because it's a floating fixture, we're not going to know when we play towards the end of the year. So at the moment, it's just 3 Thursday nights. It's 4 Friday nights. And then we've got, this is the ones that I don't really like, where we go to Adelaide Oval to play Sydney. Then we fly over to the Gabba. And then we got a nice little break because that's the Thursday game. That's the Easter Thursday game before we take on Essendon at the MCG. And that's all we got up to yesterday. So then, round 8, we play Geelong at the MCG. There was rumours going around that we would be playing at GMHBA Stadium. That's just never going to happen. When it's, especially one, because it's Collingwood's home game, obviously. But even if it was Geelong's home game, they're not going to want, you know, I don't even know how many people that holds, 50,000 maybe. They're going to want to pack it out. Like, we get 80 plus to this game. And because it's a home game, this will probably be 85,000, I reckon. You want to be pushing for 90, but it's about 85,000, I think. So the next game, we go away now. So that'll be our first away game since round 6. So we take on Fremantle. That's one of 2 games against Fremantle. I didn't think we would play Fremantle twice, but alas, we get them twice. So that's over at Optus. And that's a bit of a redemption. That's a bit of a redemption from last season with the, the Lockie Sullivan ball and the draw. And we were, a win off the top 8, and that could have been it. And then we get Adelaide at the MCG, so we travel back down to the MCG, which is good. Can I just say, this is just to digress from all of this. I really like Adelaide's logo. I think it's really modern. I think it's really, really cool. I've seen a leak of the Gold Coast Suns logo that's been going around, which I think it hasn't won me over. And then St Kilda released their logo, I think, next week. So, bunch of new logos, and Hawthorn's obviously got their centenary logo as well. So now we go to Marvel Stadium. So this is going to be Sir Doug Nicholls round against North Melbourne. So it's going to be North Melbourne trying to redeem from their, 50-point capitulation last season against us, which was just an absolutely fantastic game. We shouldn't be down by 50 points, but that's neither here nor there now. But we get North Melbourne about halfway through the season, and then we don't we don't play them again. So now we start a nice little patch of Melbourne home games. So that's Marvel, not home games, just Melbourne games just in general. So that's Marvel and the MCG. Starts off with Hawthorn. That's one of 2 times that we play them. Obviously, Hawthorn are a big draw card, so that's on a Friday night. They're probably going to be in some sort of premiership contention just with how they went last season. And it's always going to be Collingwood versus Ginnivan as well. So that's probably why we play them twice, I dare say. So that's on the Friday night. And then we get, obviously, the big freeze against Melbourne. It's their home game this time. That's on the Monday. And then we have a bye at round 14, and that's the last bye of the season. It's really going to test us. It's really going to test us before that second bye. And we'll know where we are during the season at that second bye because it's a really big start to the season. Obviously, it's going to be a really big end to the season, but it's a really big start to the season. Especially those first 8 weeks. That is absolutely brutal. And it doesn't really get any easier from there besides the North Melbourne game. So it's a brutal first half to the season. So we're really going to know where we are during that round 14 bye. So now we go back-to-back Marvel home games. I can't remember the last time that happened. I can't remember the last time we've gone back-to-back Marvel home games, but in saying that, round 15 against the Saints, that's on Saturday night. And then now from round 16 onwards, this is the TBC era. This is the floating fixture. We don't know when. We don't know what time. So it could be anything. But we play West Coast at Marvel. And I know we smashed them last season just. Like, they were sort of coming for us, and then we sort of ran away with it. But West Coast seemed to play really well at Marvel Stadium. I remember losing to them in our premiership year. Was it the year we won the premiership, or it might have been 2022 that we got done by them? So we have that there, and then round 17, our first double up opponent is Carlton. I dare say they don't put this on a Thursday night again. They'll probably see how it goes in round 4 when we play them on the Thursday night. But I doubt they put us on a Thursday night again. Here it'll have to be. I think the perfect Carlton Collingwood time slot is a Saturday night. Because then you can go out, you've got Sunday to recover, and then, you see your work friends on Monday to give them a little bit of stick. And then we've got Gold Coast, round 18, that's up at the Gold Coast. So there was talks of us doing 2 weeks in Queensland where we would play Brisbane and then we'll play Gold Coast, kind of like what North Melbourne are sort of doing with Perth, but it looks like they didn't get that through this season, so that'll be maybe the season after next. Gold Coast obviously still got their old logo here until they bring in the new one, And then we get our second double up, which is Fremantle, and that be at the MCG. Again, can't remember the last time we played Fremantle home and away. I feel like it rarely happens with these Perth teams that we get them home and away. And now we go into our run home, which starts at round 20. And this is when we finally play probably the worst team in the league. Is that what we're going to say? So Richmond is our last game where we haven't played any of the other teams. And then from rounds 21 onwards, they're all of our double up opponents. So then we get Brisbane again. We get Hawthorn again. Adelaide, we go to at the Adelaide Oval. And then Melbourne at the MCG to round out our season. Now, in these last few games, we actually have a pretty good run in Melbourne. Well, if you look after the bye, right, we get 2 Marvel games and then 1 MCG game. So that's 3 in a row in Melbourne. We travel once to the Gold Coast, and then we get Fremantle here. We get Richmond here, Brisbane here, Hawthorn here. We travel again to Adelaide Oval, and then we come back to the MCG to play Melbourne in the last game. So in that second half of the season, we only travel twice, which is really good. We love that. Higher attendances, we know that. We know that the fixture sort of favours us in that way because we are a money-making machine for the AFL. In saying that, I feel like this is a bit of a difficult run home. Now, Adelaide and Melbourne are 2 of the teams that we doubled up on from the lower 6th bracket, but you've got to remember that those 2 teams really underperformed last season. Melbourne should have been up in the top 8, and Adelaide was sort of pushing for that top 8 spot as well. So all of our double up opponents, which are Carlton, Hawthorn, Fremantle, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Adelaide, are all finals contenders. All finals contenders, right? Obviously, Carlton, Hawthorn, Brisbane all play finals. Brisbane won the premiership twice. We played Brisbane twice, who have won the premiership. And then Adelaide, Melbourne, and Fremantle all pretty much just missed out on that 8th spot. There were a lot of teams vying for that 8th spot. I don't like that we don't play Essendon twice. I love playing Essendon twice, mainly because it's such a good game. It's always such a good game. You just have to look through the last couple of years how close and how incredible it's been. So we only get them on Anzac Day, which is a bit strange. Like, you would think that when you're the big 3 in Victoria, Carlton, Essendon, and Collingwood, you're playing each other twice. But it looks like they've opted for Hawthorn twice this season as that big Victorian club. And I think it's the Ginnivan effect and, you know, how well Hawthorn did last season. Like I said at the start, Fox Footy graded this the 3rd hardest run in the competition, and that's pretty much because of our double up opponents. I am pretty upset that we don't get North Melbourne or Richmond or West Coast twice. I think that's really stupid. Like, we finished 9th. At least give us one of those opponents to play second. And you guys were just as frustrated because here's what you're saying all about it. Never want to hear Oppo fans and media complain about us getting easy draws again. You got to think that even last year we had such a hard draw. And if you want to put this in sort of perspective, a couple years ago, the Bulldogs finished 9th. That was in 2023. In 2024, their fixture was in the middle bracket. They had the 10th easiest fixture or the 8th hardest fixture. So however you want to sort of look at it, as a 9th opponent, as a 9th ladder position, they had a much better draw going into 2024 than we do going into 2025. Now, could this be because, you know, they're looking at our potential as a premiership contender as opposed to where we actually finished because we had all of those injuries? And this is me playing devil's advocate. Is that why they've given us this harder draw, because we have potential to win a premiership and they don't want to sort of hand us an easy draw? But in saying that, there's a lot of finalists, or there's a handful of finalists that do have an easy draw, which is, I don't know, not fair in my humble, honest Swoop opinion. All in all, I probably give this entire fixture, what did I give it yesterday? I think I gave it a D minus. And I think I'm going to stay with a D minus. Now that I've seen our double up opponents, I'm going to stay at a D minus because I would have loved just one of Kangaroos, West Coast, or just throw us a bone. Just give us one of those opponents. 2 would be a godsend, but Collingwood don't get godsends, right? But look, it is what it is. We play whoever is in front of us. You can only beat whoever is in front of you, and they are our opponents for season 2025. I still think, in saying all that and saying that it's the hardest fixture and me complaining and all this stuff, and this is going to be hypocritical of me, but I still think that it's a top 4 side. I still think that we're a top 4 side. It's even with this fixture, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. Like, not because it's a hard fixture. It is going to be difficult. But you got to remember that in our run home last year, we won 4 of the last 5 games, with the loss only coming to Sydney, and that was by a couple of points. And we win that Sydney game, and we play finals, right? So yeah, it kind of ebbs and flows. I still give this a D minus though. I'm not going to sort of change that. But if we can make top 4, top 6 from here, I think that'll prove it'll prove a lot about the team and where we're capable. Oh, sorry, what we're capable of. Because you got to remember that Brisbane won it from outside the top 4 this season. So, in last season, 2024. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we go. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you give this as a grading? And do you think that this is a hard difficulty, easy? Let me know all your thoughts down below. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later. My name is Alexander Hamilton, and there's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait, just you wait. That's better.